Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone between Jason, welcome back to the rundown, a 10-minute testing roll for the TCG. Today we start coverage of BLZD Dominion with what I think is one of the most interesting decks for the next format. A deck we already know that is going to be very powerful future support, but as a person who enjoys decks that play on a unique axis, examples of other decks I like Paleo, Fluandries, and Enneacraft, this deck was just too interesting for me to wait on. So, without further ado, please let me introduce to you Clown Crew. That's right, today we're taking a look at Clown Crew. Very interesting deck that's coming out in BLZD Dominion. This deck hasn't been seeing too much hype for the upcoming set release, but after testing this, I have found it to be a lot of fun. If you don't know, Clown Crew is a deck that revolves all around tribute summoning and locking you out of the effects of monsters special summon from the deck. And I know you might be saying, what do you mean you don't special summon from the deck? Well, you see, Clown Crew functions with this interesting Yu-Gi-Oh-ism where once a monster leaves the field, it is no longer considered a monster that was, let's say, special from the extra deck or special summon from the main deck. So, what Clown Crew does is it cheats out its own extra deck monsters, tributes those monsters off, triggering their effects in the graveyard rather than them having any kind of effect on the field. Now, as a tribute summon enjoyer, I found this to be really cool, so I just couldn't wait for the next two waves of support before taking a look at this deck. Another cool thing with Clown Crew is that it synergizes really well with the brand new hand traps that are also coming out in BLZD Dominion, so this is an all-in-one package where I get to try a lot of new cards all at once. Enough preamble, let's talk clowns. So first up we have 3 copies of Clown Crew Biancaviso. You can tribute summon this card face up by tributing 1 Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Exile, Pendulum, or Link monster. If this card is tribute summoned, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect Clown Crew Biancaviso once per turn. Draw cards equal to the number of monsters tributed, negate the effects of face up monsters your opponent controls equal to the number of monsters tributed. Once per turn, during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon a monster. So, interestingly enough, yes, the 2 bullet pointed effects of Biancaviso is just one of those per turn, but the effect to tribute during the opponent's turn is not once per turn. Following that, we have 3 copies of Clown Crew Flare, a ritual monster. You can ritual summon this card with a Clown Crew card. You can reveal this card in your hand, add 1 Clown Crew card from your deck to your hand, except the ritual monster, then discard 1 card. You can only use this effect Clown Crew Flare once per turn. If this card is tributed, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of these effects of Clown Crew Flare once per turn. Shuffle all ritual monsters from the field and graveyards into the deck. Change 1 effect monster on the field to face down defense position. So Flare here is where we see how Clown Crew interacts with other decks. She has 2 effects to either shuffle all rituals or to non-targeting Book of Moon an effect monster on the board. All the other Clown Crews that live in the extra deck have a near similar effect. They shuffle back all copies of their super type back into the deck or have an effect that benefits you. One sets spells, one sets traps, and the other returns a card from graveyard to hand. Next up, we have Clown Crew Matinee Operatics. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 Clown Crew monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summon conditions. Also, until the end of the next turn, if this effect resolves, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special summon from the deck or extra deck. During the end phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of different card types of monsters tributed this turn. Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exile, Pendulum, Link. Then you can set 1 spell trap from your hand. You can use each effect of Clown Crew Matinee Operatics once per turn. So Matinee is the card. It is the powerhouse card of Clown Crew. It can cheat out your Ritual, your Fusion, your Synchro, your Exile, and then for every super type you tributed, you draw an extra card during the end phase. Now, you might notice that Matinee also does not specify which spell trap you can set. Next up, we have 3 copies of Clown Crew Rehearsal. Tribute 1 monster from your hand or field, add 1 Clown Crew Biancaviso and 1 Clown Crew spell trap, except Clown Crew Rehearsal from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, ritual summon 1 Clown Crew Ritual monster from your hand by tributing monster from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed its level. You can only use each effect of Clown Crew Rehearsal once per turn. So Rehearsal is the way that we are pretty much looking to start most of our plays if we're leading with a card like Flare. Rehearsal is also the way we would ritual summon Flare if we want to tribute another monster in hand instead. Keep in mind, Flare and all our extra deck Clown Crew monsters trigger when they are tributed. Rounding out the spell cards, we have 3 copies of the quick play Clown Crew Malabarisme, special up with 2 Clown Crew monsters from your deck and or extra deck, ignoring their summoning conditions. Also, until the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special summon from the deck or extra deck during your main phase. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card and tribute 1 monster from your hand or field, and target 1 card in the field, return it to the hand. You can only use each effect of Clown Crew Malabarisme once per turn. Next up, we have the Clown Crew Traps, starting with Clown Crew New Face. During the standby phase, you can shuffle 3 Clown Crew cards from your graveyard and or banishment into the deck, then draw 1 card. If you tribute summon a monster, you can target other spell traps in the field up to the number of monsters tributed for tribute summon, destroy them. If this card is sent to the graveyard, except from the field, you can place it face up in your field. You can only use each effect Clown Crew New Face once per turn. New Face is a pretty powerful card. It's very similar to the Radiant Typhoon Continuous Trap in terms of the shuffling back. New Face right now is kind of a high rolling card. It's important to have, but it's not mandatory. The other trap here is mandatory. So we have 1 copy of Clown Crew Soiree Operations. Activate 1 of these effects, but you can only use each of these effects of Clown Crew Soiree Operations once per turn. Also, until the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special from the deck or extra deck. Special summon up to 2 Clown Crew monsters from your deck and or extra deck, ignoring their summoning conditions. Add 1 Clown Crew monster from your deck to your hand. During the main phase, you can banish this card from graveyard immediately after this effect resolves. Tribute summon 1 Clown Crew monster face up. Soiree Operations has a very similar effect to Malabarisme, getting 2 bodies onto a board, but Soiree also has the bonus effect of if we instead add or we just have an extra copy of Bianca Viso, after we summon 2, we can banish Soiree from the graveyard to then tribute summon our Bianca Viso during the opponent's turn. Now onto an interesting little package we get to play in the deck. We're on 1 copy of Poissonnière des Nouvelles and 3 copies of the Culinary Confrontation. If you don't know, this card specials Poissonnière des Nouvelles and the Pasticiel Couverture from the deck or extra deck, on 1 on our field, 1 on the opponent's field. Poissonnière on summon adds you a level 1 ritual. I find this much better than running like a preparation of rites, mostly because this can be done during the draw phase, letting us play around Droll and Lockbird. And then we have our unfortunate card that just works too well in this deck. We're on 1 copy of Vanity's Ruler. We're on 3 copies of Vidral's Harmonia. Get used to seeing this card. This thing's going to be a powerhouse. Every deck that can play this card should play this card. We're also on 3 copies of Dominus Spark. Then we have 3 Nibiru, 1 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Molcharme Fulos, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Imperm, and 1 Called by the Grave. Now on to the extra. Let's talk non-clowns first. We're on 1 copy of Linkuriboh, 1 SP Knight, the Paticiel I mentioned earlier, Psyframe Lord Omega, Packbit, and Malong. These synchros are a little package for the Harmonia. Basically, when we reveal for Harmonia, we get to choose which one of these will fit the situation best to interact with the opponent. Now, the Clown extra decks. First up, we're on 3 copies of Clown Crew Fiends. You do pretty much always want to max out on these cards in the first wave. It's going to be a little different when the next wave Clown Crew cards come out because of the extra decks can get a little too tight to play 3-3-3. Tribute summon monster you control gain 1,000 deck. If this card is tributed, you can activate 1 of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Clown Crew Fiends once per turn. Return all Xyz monsters from the field and graveyards into the extra deck. Set 1 Clown Crew spell from your deck. Fiends is one of the most important cards for us to summon. It can serve just Matinee, Rehearsal, or Malabarisme, depending on what we open. We have 3 copies of Clown Clan Meteor. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you tribute summon a monster. If this card is tributed, you can activate 1 of these effects, but you can only use each effect Clown Crew Meteor once per turn. Return all single monsters from the field and graveyards to the extra deck, or you can target 1 Clown Crew card in your graveyard except Clown Crew Meteor, add it to your hand. So Meteor is a great card for recycling, also incredible for the upcoming meta, as it can shovel back all the cool tune synchros. And finally, we're on 3 copies of Clown Crew Diabolo. If your tribute summon monster attacks damage monster, inflict double piercing battle damage to your opponent. This card is tribute, you can activate 1 of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Clown Crew Diabolo once per turn. Return all fusion monsters from the field and graveyards to the extra deck, or set 1 Clown Crew trap from your deck. So Diabolo is the way we'll be getting our soiree about 90% of the time, just setting it from deck and having it ready for the next turn. Or if we're in a situation where we already opened soiree or have been able to search it somewhere else, he can also get us a copy of New Face. We have 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 Molcharme Perulia, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 Solemn Accusation, 3 Evenly Matched, and 3 Forbidden Crown. Forbidden Crown is going to be very popular for the cool tune format that is fast approaching. So that's the deck. Why don't we check out some games? Alright, here we are. Game number 1. Our opponent is on Yummy because we were going first, and we opened Veiler, Dominus Spark, Malabarisme, Flare, and Bianca Viso. Alright, let's start in draw phase with a copy of the Quick Play, which immediately gets Ash Blossomed. Okay, well, we can still play as long as they don't have another card to stop this. So we go Flare effect to add Rehearsal, pitching the Veiler. Rehearsal, tribute the Flare. We're going to get the max amount of draws of Matinee this turn because we're going to need them. They Fua in response to Matinee as we summon Diablo and tribute summon for Bianca Viso. setting Soiree, drawing a card. It is a Fuelos, and we draw 2 more of Matinee, which is another Fuelos, and another copy of Rehearsal. They leave Period as map to add Cup C Yummy. We're just going to try and just remove the bodies. That's usually enough against Yummy. So let's go Soiree. We summon Meteor, and we summon Flare. Meteor's going to be pretty good if they do actually get to Synchro Summoning. We're going to leave now go Bianca Viso, tribute our 2 guys immediately, and chain block that Flare there to get the Book of Moon, and they have Ghost Bell. Okay. But we'll draw 2 and flip down the Cups of Yummy. We drew the Nouvelle Quick Play and Valor. Let's spark the Marshmallow they just summoned there, and then they reveal they have the Diabell Star cards near. Cool. Anyway, Valor's gonna make quick work of that Magician's Souls, and they scoop it up. Bit of a non-engine carry in that game, but with a deck that draws as much as we do, that is kind of the plan. Alright, here we are getting into 2, and our opponent is on Mitsurugi Pure. We are going first once again, and you see we opened the Quick Play for Draws Harmonia, Nibiru, Dominus Spark, and Infinite Impermanence. You might be saying this is a bit of a brick, but I'm going to show off some forbidden technology. While we're in the draw phase, we're going to activate the Quick Play to summon 2 cards. They respond with Fuelos, which is fine, I guess. It's still going to get the 1 draw in the first place. Now we tribute summon Nibiru over Diabolo and our Fiends, setting Soiree and Rehearsal. Then we activate the Rehearsal to tribute the Nibiru to get Matinee and Bianca Viso. We go Matinee effect to summon Meteor, give them an extra draw. Draw 2 in end phase, and would you look at that, we drew Vanity's Ruler. Anyway, our trap gets purged, so we cannot summon 2 more bodies, and they go Prayers in draw phase. I guess they're playing around Droll. Anyway, here they go, adding Saji after specialing Kusanagi, adding back the copy of Prayers they just used. They're going to normal summon Saji. We chain for draws. We chain Imperm to just remove these bodies off the board, sending Packbit to then put Saji in the back rooms. They reveal they have talents, draw 2, and they draw Ritual off of that. That's insane. Ritual summoning Murakuma from deck, but they chain block with so many things just happened. So they tributed a copy of Habakiri for this Murakumo, summoning it from deck. They then chain the Habakiri effect to the Murakumo. We'd respond with Bianca Viso and the effect of our Meteor. Chaining Meteor means we get to chain block Bianca Viso so we can negate the effect of Murakumo. They add Mirror, they go Mirror. We just go, listen, buddy, you just gotta have the materials in hand. So we spark away the Murakumo. This is so hard to follow. I'm sorry I'm pausing. And they tribute off their Aramasa and another Saji. Go ahead and add another copy of Murakumo. And I don't think I'm going to want to let this guy summon. So when they go end phase, we just tribute summon Vanity's Ruler, draw 2, and would you know, it's 2 starters. Let's go the Nouvelle Quick Play, summon Pasticiel, summon the Chef. Chef adds us another copy of Flare, so we can both Ritual Summon and add, and they've seen enough. My voice is killing me. I'm sorry about it. I'm having to pause on that one. Alright, let's jump into game 3. Alright, here we are, game number 3, and we are against Elf Nodes. We're going second this time. Well, hopefully this Fuelos can carry us. Go and activate Fuelos in draw phase, and they just pass turn. Alright, well, let's go for the Nouvelle Quick Play, and they double Fuelos. Well, at least we have this called by here. So that negates both of the Fueloses, and we summon Pasticiel and the Poissonniere. Poissonniere effect gets us another copy of Flare. Thankfully, it's still on draw phase, so that we don't have to worry about Droll and Lockbird. Let's go Flare effect to add the normal spell Rehearsal, and then we activate that, tributing this Nouvelle Chef. Add Bianca Viso, add the Quick Play, chain the Quick Play to the Chef, summon our 2 bodies, and then summon Bianca Viso. The unfortunate thing with Clown Crew is we can't exactly OTK too well, so we are probably going to be going back to the opponent's turn here. Anyway, so we set Matinee. We're going to activate Matinee, summoning another copy of Fiends, just trying to get our attack as high as possible, and we'll also summon Flare. They reveal copy of Bestial Magma, banishing one of our Fiends. That's okay. Our new phase can shuffle those back. Let's just switch that guy into attack so Bianca Viso can swing over him. We're going to leave the Pasticiel on board just to clog up their EMZ. I do not know what the opponent is playing at this point, so that's probably smart. They add a copy of Bestial Lubellion in the end phase, and we draw Vanity's Ruler once again. Fun deck. Let's go new phase, shuffle away the banish card, draw another card, and it's another copy of Bianca Viso. Now when they finally reveal they are Elf Notes, they go Elf Notes Welcome Home, pitching the Bestial they added, but then they chain Harmonia, popping our guy, but we do get to tribute. they go Regina, and they go Malong, and we go Flare and New Face to pop their back row, negate their guy in the middle, flip the other guy, and flip up Soiree, summoning 2 bodies. Then they reveal they have the Power Patron, go Kui Belt, and the Power Patron and Regina. Oh my god, there's so many chains. They add Regina back to hand, they pop one of our cards, and they also add a copy of Fortuna. Alright, their main monster zone's open, so they can go for it, except we still have the Gaviso effect. Let's draw and tribute the Vanity's Ruler, bouncing back all the synchros already on board. And you know what? While we're at it, let's bounce fusions too, so I can have my Pestilential back. Draw how many in end phase? I think that's about 5. That's all 3 Fidral's Harmonia, Valor, and Spark. And the opponent says, that's it. I'm absolutely done with this. This is bullshit. I'm leaving. So we're back with deck, and hey, that's pretty good. Now, I know usually after we do the games is where I would talk pros and cons, but I want to kind of change the segment from the direct 10-minute testing ripoff to instead talk strengths and weaknesses. What is this deck good at? What is it bad at? So let's start with the strengths. This deck draws a lot of cards. Gaviso can draw you 2 cards when he's summoned, which is incredible, and then Matinee can draw you another 5. We'll very frequently be able to just draw into a lot of non-engine, which you can see we are on a lot of non-engine. There's also a lot of redundancy in the cards. Being able to open Rehearsal, which adds you 2 cards, or Matinee, which just summons your guys from deck, who can then get you your cards anyway. There's a lot of great synergy with other tribute-related mechanics. We're able to play cards like Vanity's Ruler. Some decks are playing Ben 10 to search Vanity's Ruler, which is crazy, or to search cards like Sorvis. Clowns is also a deck that gets to play Fidral's Harmonia, which, as you saw in those games, is very, very good. It could only be improved if it was also a starter, but rest in peace, Herald of Arclight. I'm glad you're gone. Now, let's talk about the weaknesses. Clown dies into the sun to Droll and Lockbird. We will not be able to use Rehearsal. We will not be able to use Matinee. We will not be able to use Flare. Under Droll, there's essentially 0 game plan for Clowns. Clowns is also locked nearly completely out of the extra deck. Linkuriboh is a unique case, and it's a guy who can summon himself back from grave, so he turns his own effect back on, but our SP Little Knight was completely useless during testing. We are so frequently getting locked from a monster summoned from deck's effects that we are at a big disadvantage when other decks are using their extra deck as an ultra powerful toolbox. Clown Crew is also pretty weak to any kind of quick removal. Effects that just wipe the board, such as Murakumo, are very dangerous for us. We are very lucky in that game against Mitsurugi that we were able to stop it with our Biancaviso, but in other situations, if all we have is our bodies that we want to tribute, a card like Murakumo wiping them off the board before we can resolve our tribute summon is really bad for us. We are very weak to a card like Evenly Matched, which can solo our entire board. But all in all, I have been really enjoying playing Clowns. This deck is really cool. I like the axis it plays on, and I'm very excited to revisit it once the next waves of support come out. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching the video. Leave in the comments the Blazing Dominion decks you're most excited for. Goodbye.